Welcome to Two Doctors Homestead. My name's Daniel.
And I'm Janet.
And this is Prepper Pantry. So today we're looking at emergency supplies. So these are not food or water, but they're things you should have in your cabinet, right, in case of an emergency. And a lot of this stuff is good for really everyday basic stuff, but you might not have it. So we wanted to pull together some of the items we have that we consider part of our emergency preparedness.
Yeah.
So we got a big pile of stuff here, some stuff you can't see yet, and we thought you'd walk you through, show you what we have and why we have it.
Absolutely.
All right, so the first thing I want to start out with right here, this is a basic refrigerator freezer sensor, right? So it has a magnet on the back, sticks to the side of the fridge, sensor goes inside. They're about $14 on Amazon, made in China. And we'll try to put links to all this stuff in the description. This already paid for itself. So we got chest freezers in the garage. And about 2 weeks after we put the sensors in, I noticed it wasn't holding the freeze anymore.
Right.
Right. We've got a lot of meat. I think there's almost an entire cow in that freezer. And it wasn't staying frozen. So I might not have noticed that right away, and we could have lost a lot of meat.
Yeah, it's hard with the chest freezers because they tend to build up, ice on the outside.
Yeah.
Throughout their lifetime, and that would take a long time to melt.
It would.
This stuff inside your freezer would already be defrosted by the time your ice that's accumulated.
Yeah, absolutely,
melted.
absolutely.
I don't do freezer upkeep. I'm not scraping the ice.
Right, we're really not. Yeah, and really, in even like a normal situation, SHTF, your freezer's down. But in an emergency situation, if you're in a blackout, you don't want to have to keep opening the fridge or opening the freezer to check the temperature. This will tell you, right? Especially if you have.
That's just magnetic and
right, the sensor goes inside and it'll tell you what your temperature is, and you can track whether stuff's staying frozen, grid down or not. Regular situation. So that already paid for itself for us.
And that has an alarm on it too, right?
Has an alarm, right. If your power's going out, that has an alarm. So we want to start with that one. Another one I want to start with that I don't see a lot. I mean, there's a lot of emergency supply and prepper supply and 20 item videos out there. Another one I don't see a lot is just basic super glue. This is Gorilla Glue. It's a 4-pack. It was not very expensive, maybe $5-6 I think. We'll do a link on it. You can fix a lot of stuff with super glue.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, absolutely can. You can even fix basic car stuff with super glue. You can do wounds with super glue.
Yeah.
Right. You can fix a lot of stuff. So it's really useful to have. If you haven't thought about it, if you don't have it, so this is for regular day, real life situations or emergencies.
Yeah, I really have seen people who have, cuts.
Put some super glue on it.
And they don't want to go get stitches, just dab the super glue and
do the super glue on it. So a ton, very useful for emergencies. It's good to have. Don't see enough of it out there. People recommending that. Definitely get your Gorilla Glue. Get your super glue.
You fix a lot with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you wanna jump in on maybe power?
Oh yeah. Okay. So this right here. It's a little battery. Flips down, and it's just. You can plug it right into the wall and charge it.
Yeah.
Obviously, it has to be pre-charged.
Yes.
So keep it charged because if an emergency happens and you lose power, you can't charge it. So this has to be ready. But this, you hook your cell phones into. It has 2 ports, so you can do 2 cell phones at a time, and it'll give you 5 charges.
Right.
So you'll get 5 charges off this, and we all know that. I mean, we don't want to lose our cell phones.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way it is. People don't want to. So this was just the on juice.
Yeah.
And we'll have a link to it. And this is perfect because you can have, if you're in an emergency situation, you want to, and you don't have power, you want to be able to try to figure out how we want to stay connected. We want to make sure our family and loved ones are okay, and to do that, you need to have power to your cell phones too, because not a lot of people have a home phone anymore.
Yeah.
So that one's great.
That one, absolutely.
It's a beefy battery.
Yeah. 5 charges, especially if you're thinking 72 hours or something like that. That'll certainly get you 72 hours, and maybe you're in a blackout, but it's not a total grid down, and there might still be signal, right? So you might still want to be able to use your cell phone for that
Right, and
first
my
couple
tip
days.
for this, for if you have an iPhone, because I don't know about any other phones, but
Right.
for iPhone users, if you're in an emergency situation, you don't want to have to use a lot of battery
Yeah.
to have your phone up. So if you go into your settings and go under battery, you can flip on low power mode.
Yeah.
You'll still be able to do all the things you want to do on your cell phone. You're just not, that switches off the apps that run in the background. So you'll still be able to use all your apps or be able to do all the things you are with your phone. They're just not going to be updating in the background
Right.
anymore, and that conserves a ton of juice.
Yeah.
So then you won't have to pull off this as much.
Absolutely. Yep, I'll take that out of the way here. So another one for power that I don't see a lot on the prepper videos, so I wanted to pull it out. I think it's overlooked, generally overlooked. I see a lot of Jackeries and Bluettis and all those portable power systems, and they're all very expensive. So I wanted to pull this one out. This was $22 at Walmart. This is a 400 watt inverter. Now this is modified sine wave. If you're really interested in protecting your sensitive electronics, you could look at pure sine wave, right? And that's a better power source, but this was 22 bucks. It's a 400 watt power inverter. You hook it up to your car battery, right? So a car battery is actually about 1200 watt hours. So if you're gonna run the battery to halfway, which is safer on lead acid, that's 600 watts. 600 watts for your car battery, 400 watts continuous out of this. So I said, I think they're heavily overlooked. You can recharge your car battery with your car. So instead of a Jackery that you got to plug in solar panels, right? You have your car is a battery charger. You're going to use, depending on your car,
have enough gas to run that vehicle.
Right, you use about a half a gallon of gas an hour, and typically your car can recharge the battery between 30 minutes to an hour, depending if you're idling and what you're doing. Those are all average times. But you figure for every half gallon of gas, you can charge your battery in your car, and you could use the inverter to draw power from it. And in a major SHTF situation, zombie apocalypse, you might be able to find car batteries available in the area. Whether you want to be able to recharge the car batteries outside of the car, there's a ton of options for that. If you just want quick emergency power, right here, it has little clips, plugs into the battery, the clips connect to the battery, you plug your stuff into it, and you're good to go, right? And you have power. So once again, $22 compared to maybe $300 for your minimum solar generator.
Right, I'll take the $22.
Take the 22 bucks. It's there. It's backup power. So again, if you're going to do sensitive electronics, maybe spend the 50 bucks and get a pure sound sine wave. But it's not bad. It's not bad to have.
Right.
So I think it's often overlooked in terms of emergency power. And then another one, of course, for power in your emergency pantry and your emergency supplies. Batteries. So we like the rechargeable batteries.
Yeah.
But you definitely want batteries for all your things. We have a solar backup power system that runs into an outlet in the wall, and I can charge the batteries right there. So I can use the solar I already have to charge batteries, but definitely want to have extra batteries. Whether you're running flashlights or your radios or whatever you're running, you want extra batteries. So
absolutely.
In terms of power, extra batteries are good. Something like an inverter, where you can pull power from maybe a car battery. You've got the emergency car, phone charger, right? So you can charge your phone. So there's some basic power backup options you can get without spending a ton of money. And certainly there's plenty of more expensive options out there. Right. So I did want to hit on power a little bit. Should I hit on the radios maybe?
Sure.
Jumping on the radios next.
What's your favorite radio?
This is my favorite radio. I've done videos just on this radio. Love this little radio. This is a weather radio, so it'll do AM, FM, or it'll do the weather stations. It's got the hand crank, which everyone loves the hand crank. I always tell the kids when I was a kid, the only way you got power was the hand crank. We had the hand crank. If we wanted to watch cartoons, hand crank. Had to hand crank that shit. Right, so the only way we got power was the hand crank. This does have some solar charging capabilities. It uses a rechargeable battery. It's the 18650 battery, which is the same battery our flashlight uses. Has a flashlight in it, and you can actually charge your cell phone on it. Right, so once again, if you're in a grid down and the kids want to get on the TikTok, plug the phone in here,
And tell them to hand crank.
Hand crank it, hand crank it.
Yep.
You want your tick-tock, you need to be hand cranking. Super useful to have, like for where we're at, if we lose power, we lose internet, we pretty much go dark, and that can happen during a storm.
We lose everything.
Right, it can happen
We
during a
lose
storm.
aerobic septic, we lose
Right,
everything.
everything goes down
We're
when
going
the
Little House
storm
on the
comes
Prairie
in.
when we lose power
Right,
out
so
here.
something like this will at least tell you if you're about to get hit by a tornado.
Right.
Right, so super useful to have. Highly recommend a good weather radio. And then this is another radio that I got many years ago. I thought it was an emergency radio, and it's sort of an emergency radio, but it doesn't actually get the weather radio, right? So this same thing, it's got the hand crank, so you can hand crank it. You want to listen to music, you got a hand crank. This one actually picks up shortwave bands, which could be interesting
That's
in an
cool.
emergency. Yeah. You know, there could be stuff broadcasting in your area on shortwave.
Right.
Right, you don't shortwave.
You don't know. There could be someone screaming Wolverines out there.
Right, you don't know. Yeah, apparently, yeah.
Don't know.
You just don't know. So this has the flashlight in it, it has the hand crank on it. Could be useful. As I said, it kind of failed me. We had a big storm. I'm like, let me get the emergency radio. I'm like, oh wait, it's not that kind of emergency radio.
Right.
But it is there. I mean,
It's
if
a
you're
radio that you can use in emergencies because
right
it has
for
a hand
in
crank.
emergencies, it's got the hand
That
crank.
red emergency radio is just for weather.
Just for weather,
You're not
yeah.
getting anything else on it.
Right, right. It's got the flashlight on it. But you know, if you're in a long-term grid down, blackout situation, something like that, there might be good information on shortwave
Yeah.
that you need to get to. So it's got the AM, FM, it's got the shortwave, it's a little emergency radio. It's pretty old, but if we can find it, I'll put a link in it. Once again, it helps you stay connected. If there's an emergency, you're
Yeah,
going
we
to want
always
to stay
do that.
connected. So that hits communications. What do you wanna jump in on?
All right, so I'm going to start with this one
Yes.
because it's my favorite.
You're right.
Yeah. So this is, I suppose you'd call it duct tape,
Yeah.
but this is the Gorilla brand of duct tape. And again, we're not sponsored by any of these.
No, we're not.
But if I had to pick between that silver duct tape
Yeah.
and the Gorilla brand duct tape, I would pick this any day of the week.
Right.
This to me just seems stickier
Yeah.
than it, and I use it for a lot of stuff.
Oh, you do. Use it for everything.
I mean, I could throw down with some duct tape.
Yeah.
But this is good because what I found is we get those kiddie pools, for our dogs in the summer, and their nails will pierce through it. And I'll just put some of this on it and then fill that pool back up with water, and it holds the seal.
It holds, yeah.
I mean, it really does. And I mean, I've tried it with the silver stuff and it hasn't worked, but this stuff, I really like it.
Yeah.
You can use duct tape for just about anything. If you've got an
Absolutely.
imagination, you can duct tape
You
something
can
up.
duct tape. You see videos where people make boats out of duct tape.
Right.
So
I'm not
it's-
that savvy.
Right. It's good for
But I do
emergencies.
like it.
It's good for regular everyday stuff.
Yeah.
You should have a roll of duct tape around. And then also another tape I think you should have. It has different properties than duct tape. This is electrical tape. So if you have any electrical issues, maybe your extension cord gets pinched or a wire gets
Mm-hmm.
broken, you can do a lot of basic electrical work with electrical tape.
Yeah.
So it's different properties than duct tape. I don't know that you want to fix wires with duct tape, so get you a roll of electrical tape. It's stretchy,
That's what it's
it
made for.
holds up outside decently well, right? I'm not saying
Mm-hmm.
it's all weather,
It's not as good
Flex
as that
Seal kind of
Gorilla
Gorilla tape stuff, but
Yeah.
it'll hold up. So you probably want a roll of electrical tape as well. You want to hit something, you want to look at tools?
Sure, this is my toolkit.
Yeah.
I bought this for me. I keep it inside the house. And it is just a basic toolkit. I got it on Amazon. It's pink. But it has all the basic tools that you would need in it. Your hammers, your pinch nose pliers or regular pliers, screwdrivers. Even has a level, some Allen wrenches. I like this because, I like to keep it in the house because I do stuff. If you do stuff around the house, I don't have to go out to the shed and go through all of the tools that are
Right,
out there.
right.
I could use this. And stuff's gonna break or stuff needs to get tightened up or,
Yeah.
anything down from the handle on a pan,
Right.
I'll use this for because you have to tighten it up.
Mm-hmm.
So I like having this in the house, but it's a great part of your emergency kit because it's everything you need contained.
Right.
A little bit of, they might not be the best tools in the
Yeah,
world,
right.
but they are tools that are readily available inside.
Yeah.
and just right there for you, so you don't have to be looking around for
Right,
it.
absolutely. And it's important as even not just the end of the world, just regular situation, you should have some kind of a basic toolkit.
Yeah.
Right? You know, hammer, screwdriver, pliers, stuff like that.
So I'll tell you why I bought the pink set.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you take my tools all the time.
Yeah.
And that's okay, because, you know, tools are his. So
Right,
all the
right.
tools that I had before we met
Yeah.
became your tools.
Right.
And then they kind of got mixed in
Except
with
the
all the
pink
tools
ones.
in the shop. But I tell you what, ladies, they don't take the pink tools.
Right,
So
the pink tools are still
get
there.
yourself a pink set.
Pink tools
'cause
are still
you're
there.
guaranteed that's going to stay in the house.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. Do you want to keep going? You got some other items here?
Sure. Okay, so these are my favorite kitchen shears, but they're actually not kitchen shears.
Yeah.
You're not going to find them at the kitchen store. These are from Home Depot.
Right.
And these things are hardcore.
Right.
Like, be careful when you're using these, but I'm going to tell you how good these are. I can take a chicken that is not defrosted, so it's still frozen, and I like to cut the spine out of the chicken and like break it in half so it cooks faster. This will cut right through frozen chicken.
Yeah, the hardcore scissors.
These are great scissors, and it doesn't take a lot to cut through them because, you know, I have heart failure, so my strength very limited.
Yeah.
So this stuff, these work great.
Right.
So I mean, we've all had the kitchen shears,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
these are the best kitchen
Right.
shears you could ever get.
Yeah, and they're not necessarily made as kitchen shears.
They're not. That's just what I consider them.
Right, titanium coated, but they're really good scissors. They're at Home Depot. They're not crazy expensive.
Yeah, I mean, my idea is, you know, I could be working with those little Mickey Mouse kitchen
Yeah,
shears if
yeah,
I want to,
right.
or I could use that and get the job
Right,
done
you
in a
could cut
fourth
a
of the
finger
time.
off with these. They're
Yeah,
hardcore scissors.
you can, so be careful.
Yeah, yeah.
And then these are just, what are these, snips or something?
Yeah, snips.
I use this for a lot of stuff, like,
Yeah.
I cut chicken wire, I cut, I don't know, sheets, like the little thin sheets of metal I've
Yeah,
done before.
right,
You
right.
can cut a lot of stuff with this,
Yeah.
because this can go through metal.
Right.
That'll go through metal too.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
these are actually made to go through metal.
Right, cutting
you
chicken
know,
wire and stuff
chicken
like that.
wire and hardware cloth and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like that.
heavy
I mean,
duty.
it's just important to have a good, sharp cutting device that doesn't take a lot of strength to use.
Right.
Because you're going to get tired quicker. You know, if you don't have electric,
Yeah,
you're not going to be able to use power tools, so you're going to want something that you don't have to use a lot of strength for, because you're going to need strength probably for other things.
right. Absolutely. Good scissors. Good scissors are important, once again, not just for the apocalypse, but for any situation, certainly an emergency situation, is good scissors. And then something I want to jump into, I've got two items here. We're talking about tools. The first one, once again, you might start out thinking, well, I don't know how to do that. If you don't have the tools, you for sure can't do it. If you have the tools, maybe you can figure
All
it
right, the
out.
first step is getting the equipment.
Yeah, this is a CK Auto tire repair kit for repairing holes in your car tires. It's got all the tools you need. It's got the little repair pieces in here. So if you don't know how to fix a tire, that's okay. If you have the kit, you can at least try to fix a tire. Certainly, you know, you want to be careful punching holes in tires that are pressurized, but if it's depressurized, be careful, but you can learn. You can watch some YouTube videos, and if you're in a grid down situation or anything like that, it's better to have the tool and learn how to do it than not have the tool. There's no chance you can do it if you don't at least have some kind of tools. And this was
Right.
not very expensive, right? And you could use it for bicycle tires, you can
Right.
use it for wagon wheels. There's a lot of stuff.
Lawnmowers, anything.
Lawnmower, yeah, a lot of stuff you can use
At least
it
the
for.
riding lawnmowers have, you know.
Right, the riding
inflatable,
lawnmowers have the inflatable tires, so it's something you might want to think about. I don't see it a lot in the videos. Certainly be careful, once again, if you're repairing car tires, but not very expensive. And it could save you. It could be something you find you need later on.
Right, I think the point of that is in emergencies, it's good to have skills.
Right.
For yourself.
Yeah.
Because we're so used to relying on, oh, well, if I have a tire that needs fixing, I'm just gonna go to Walmart or the
Right,
tire
take it to the
store
shop,
or
they'll fix it
whatever.
up
It's
for
about,
me.
right, so,
Yeah.
I mean, the more knowledge that you can have
Yeah.
about things where you could do for yourself, the
Right.
better off you're gonna be in an emergency situation.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And you can learn. I said, you can get the kit and start watching some videos and get a feel
Yeah.
for how it works. it could be helpful. So especially in an emergency situation where you can't just go down to Jiffy Lube and have them fix your tire.
Right.
And then another kit, once again, you can't do it if you don't have it. This is just a basic sewing kit, right? So it's about $9 at Walmart, just a very basic sewing kit. I've been sewing for 20, 30 years, but you don't have to have 30 years experience to take a needle and put the thread through it and start fixing stuff.
Yeah, I don't know how to sew, but I can sew holes in socks and stuff like that.
Right.
I'm sure I don't thread the needle the way that the professionals, people who know how to do it, but you know what? It still holds, and the hole's still closed. So that's all you need to be able to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. So in an emergency situation, you might find, hey, I got a hole in my shirt, I can't just buy another shirt. Or just life in general, having a basic sewing kit and spending just a little time with it, practicing, can go a long way. Once again, this was $9, and it comes with the needles and the thread, the little thumb thing. You've got your pin cushion, kind of a little kit you might need, the measuring tape, the whole set, a seam ripper. So you can get some basic skills practicing with it. Useful to have. If you don't have a needle and thread, you can't sew.
It'd be real hard to.
Right. If you think you can't sew, but you have a needle and thread, I'm telling you, you probably can.
Right.
You can probably sew as long as you've got some
Unless
basic
you're one of
tools.
those hardcore survivalists, whittling a needle,
Right.
getting the vines down, stripping
Right.
them down.
Yeah. Trying to make a needle out of bone or
Right.
something.
Right.
All right.
I gotta catch up
You
here.
gotta catch up here.
So this is your standard, can opener
Yeah.
in the can, and I grew up and it was always the electric on the countertop plugged in. But since moving out of my parents' house, I was always a just old school can opener. You know, I just probably because I didn't want to give the counter space to
the little electric can
an
opener.
electric can
Right,
opener. I mean,
right.
now it's evolved to where they're just battery powered and you put them in there. But I mean, this is what I've always had, and this doesn't require any power. This is just old school because, in your prepper pantry, you're going to have food to eat, and a lot of it is probably going to be canned as well.
Yeah.
So you're going to need a can opener to be able to open it here, and then you have right here a bottle opener on your can opener.
Right.
That I don't know if people know about it or not, so you can open bottles off of it
Open
too.
your beer bottles and that kind of thing. Useful to have.
It is.
And I don't know. I mean, maybe everybody over 40 probably already has one. I don't know the age gap. I don't know if kids nowadays have can openers.
I don't know.
But it's useful.
It
get
is.
a couple, get some backup can
I've
openers.
just always been a just go with it person,
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Yeah. So I do have a lot of stuff here.
All right, you gotta catch up here.
So I do. So in blackouts, you need light.
Right.
I mean, that's pretty basic.
Yeah.
You need light. Growing up, we lost power all the time.
Yeah.
So I prefer just your standard candle that you can hold, not the thin ones, like the pillars, like the tiny little ones. I feel like those go out too fast. When you get the wider pillar candles, they're good. I don't like to use the ones that are in jars, just because as the jar ones go down, the actual jar heats up so that your hand would get hot. But these are easy, when you light them, they're not hot here. So, and one little wick of one little flame
One
gives
candle
you
power.
Yeah, it gives you a lot of light.
It does. If the
you walk
room's a dark
around, you just
room.
have one little can of power,
Right.
and you're gonna need to light it.
Yeah.
Because we're not, going flint and steel or
Right, naked and afraid with
or
the bow
bow-
drill or
you're not
something.
going bow drill
You're not
on
doing
it.
that in your house.
You're not. So you're
Yeah.
gonna have to have a lighter.
Yeah.
Just get a pack of lighters.
Get a pack of lighters.
I mean, I recommend keeping these together
Yeah.
when you stash them, just right by each other.
Yeah.
Because unless you're a smoker, you're not gonna have lighters
gonna have the
around
lighters
just
handy.
everywhere.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have this stashed in a place where and you're gonna have your lighters with it because you're gonna need to get there in the dark.
Yeah. Right.
So.
Right. Absolutely.
This is-
Emergency light.
That's my little emergency
Candles are
lighting.
good. Flashlights are great too.
And candles
But
like that are
certainly
cheap.
candles, yeah, they're not expensive.
As long as as long as they're not scented,
Yeah.
when you start getting into the scented ones, you're paying more. But those aren't scented; they're just
Right.
standard wood
Yeah.
candles.
Yeah. All right. So should we jump into the first aid stuff?
Well, I still have my baby
Oh,
wipes.
hit your baby wipes. Okay, hit the baby wipes.
Anybody who's had children
All right.
knows that these are this is the hidden treasure. This is This is the hack of all hacks,
Right.
is baby wipes.
Yeah.
Because you can use them to clean your hands, you use them to give yourself a bath, like,
Yeah.
to just do
Right.
like
Yeah,
a
to a
hand
quick
bath.
yeah.
They're really good for taking stains out of clothes too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I used to keep a pack of these in my desk at work, because you spill coffee or something on yourself, and you just use it. These will get blood out.
Right.
I mean, not a lot of blood, but if you like have just a little bit of blood on fabric, and if you get it when it's fresh, these will wipe it right out. So baby wipes are.
Right, keep them in your pantry. Basic sanitation.
Yeah,
Just basic sanitation.
Yeah, 'cause you wanna keep your
You
hands
want to keep
clean.
yourself clean. All right, so we're jumping into first aid. I'm going to move this out of the way for a second. I'm a bit of a spaz when it comes to first aid
He
supplies.
loves first aid kits.
I love my first aid kits. Had a lot of injuries in life, so this is one of our first aid kits.
For real.
All right,
Yeah.
one of the first
He
aid kits.
does like first aid.
I'm not gonna dump the basket and go all the way through it, but just wanted to kind of give some ideas of things you might want in your first aid kit. Obviously, you got your basic bandages, you've got some butterfly closures, any kind of gauze is good for bigger wounds. We use this a lot. Do you want to hit on this one?
Oh, I love that stuff.
You
So
love that
this
stuff.
this is wrap.
Yeah,
Kind of, if you've seen it at the regular grocery store, it's
Yeah.
like a sports wrap. It's the self-adhesive,
Right.
sports wrap. But I mean, tell you what, if you have a farm store by you,
yeah,
go to the farm store, go to the horse section,
right,
because this is the wrap for horses. So this is this is a Band-Aid, and it's wider. So if you see how wide it is next to my hand, it's
Right.
very wide. The
Yeah.
ones that you get at the store are half the size.
Right.
These are a little stickier.
yeah,
And these are like a third of the price at the farm store,
yeah, yeah.
because they're in the section where the horses are,
Right,
because they
right.
wrap like the.
Wrap around a horse's leg.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this stuff,
Yeah,
to use for yourself.
We use it for everything.
I use it for myself.
All the
It is
time.
great.
Yeah, yeah.
It is so much cheaper at the farm
Yeah,
store. You
yeah.
get double the amount.
Right.
You're paying like a third of the price.
Yeah.
It's stickier. It's still just as flexible.
Right.
And it's just so overpriced
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
regular store. So
Yeah,
if you
but-
do have a farm store, try to get that stuff.
yeah, absolutely.
Or vet wrap. It might be called vet wrap at the farm
Right,
store.
and other things, you got your shears, these are
Mm-hmm.
little Band-Aid shears, so we're not gonna go too deep into the first aid kit. Definitely the wrap, we use a ton of that. You're gonna want the gauze pads, you're
Well,
gonna
if you
want the
have
bandages.
this wrap gauze,
Yeah.
a lot of times you want to secure it
Secure
with
with that
something.
wrap,
This
yeah.
wrap is great for anything.
Yeah.
You could have a finger like
Right,
dislocated.
I stab
wrap
myself
it.
in the hand,
Yeah.
right, and you put some gauze and you wrap it and at least they'll get you to the hospital.
This you could get it in anywhere.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you could put it anywhere. You have a little pad on it, and
Right,
then you
and
could
you
put.
wrap
You
it.
know it's
We've
secure.
treated a lot of
this stuff
injuries with the
sticks
wrap.
forever
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
So
we
you could.
treated a lot of injuries with the wrap.
And you could reuse it. I've noticed that wrap you could reuse. You unroll it really nice.
Yeah.
You can
You
re-roll
can
it back
sort
on
once or twice.
once or twice
You
with
get a
the
couple
fresh
uses out of it.
fresh gauze. You can't do
Yeah.
that with the stuff at the store.
Right, right. So that's one first aid kit. The idea being a first aid kit, have the ability to do first aid. And then this is, I don't see this a lot, but I think it's something to keep in mind.
Our pet first aid kit.
Right, a pet first aid
We're
kit.
very pet friendly here.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have 6 dogs,
Right,
pigs, chickens,
Yeah.
turkeys.
Right, lots of
anything.
animals.
Lots of animals, and animals need first aid too. Now, this has some of your regular basic stuff. You're gonna have your gauze. You're gonna have, if you notice, vet wrap.
yeah, the vet wrap.
It's a tiny one of the vet wrap, but
Yeah.
this is your vet wrap, which is the same wrap that was in there. It has an emergency leash.
Right,
So you got your emergency leash here, a little bottle that you can have just water, to be kept in it. You're gonna have all your basic stuff, like your little sterile wipes, things like that. What this has is, which is nice, it has some quick clot.
yeah,
Because usually, like if you're one of your animals, your cat, your dog,
right.
your ferret, whatever, gets cut, you can put some quick clot on it because the reason for that is a lot of times it's hard to hold them and put pressure on something
Yeah.
and to be able to stop it
Right.
quickly. So the quick clot on something would be helpful because then, you know, you don't have to hold them down for a long period of time. And then it has a couple other things in it. It has a magnifying glass with a tick remover,
Right, for removing
because
ticks.
ticks are tiny.
And you might not have that in a standard first aid kit.
You're not going to have a magnifying glass with a tick remover in a
right,
standard.
right.
You're also, and then there's this. This is a syringe. You're not
Yeah.
going to have a syringe in a regular,
Right.
because if your animal is sick,
Yeah,
they are not going to drink a lot of times.
Right, right.
So you're going to want to, and the syringe, it does not have a needle on it,
Yeah.
but you draw the water up, you put it inside
Right,
their
you
mouth
squirt it in
towards
their
the
mouth.
back and
Yeah.
just give them little drips,
Right.
especially for dogs, because you need to keep them hydrated, and sick animals usually don't eat or drink.
yeah, yeah.
So it's got, you know, your cold compresses and emergency blankie for
Yeah,
a
for
dog
an
to
animal.
stay
Right,
warm,
right.
scissors, stuff like that. There's like a set of emergency tags in here and
Mm-hmm,
stuff. But if you want to make up your own, you know, just, they sell tick removers.
Right.
You know, at Walmart, you can get that.
Yeah.
You can put an emergency leash, some vet wrap, you know, and you can get a syringe like this
Mm-hmm.
in the section where, you know, you can give for giving kids medicine and stuff
Yeah,
like
right,
that.
right.
If they don't sell it, a lot of times you can ask your pharmacist. You could be like, do you have those like liquid ones that you could
Right,
use?
right.
They'll give it to you,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
that's just standard with kids
I
medicine.
think it's got a fold-out water bowl. in
It
here
does.
somewhere,
There's a
little
fold-out
plastic
water.
fold-out water bowl.
Yeah, there's the back
It's very
here.
very pet-centric. So
here's your little
obviously you
fold-out
wanna-
water bowl.
Right, you want to think about your pets.
Yeah, because if your pet is
It's
drinking,
a different needs.
it's totally different
Yeah,
needs.
it's a little bit different
Different
needs.
needs, things for different reasons. Like,
Right.
you know, we don't have
Yeah.
quick clot in ours
Right.
because we just have a lot of compresses.
Right.
But, you know, try to hold down a 125 pound dog
Yeah.
to put pressure on it.
Right,
And you're going to
especially if they
thinking,
hurt a toe or something
you're
like
right,
that.
you're going to be thinking, I could use some of that quick clot.
Yeah, so this is good. I said not just zombie apocalypse, it's good to have in your emergency pantry.
Right.
Right, we're not just talking about end of the world, it's things you should think about, especially if you have dogs. Then I've got a couple more little emergency items here. This is another one we've used before, emergency
have.
dental kit. So you might have a
That's
great
one nobody
first aid
thinks
kit.
about.
Yeah, do you have a dental first aid kit? And we've got a couple different ones. But it's the temporary filling stuff we've had to use before.
Yeah, I mean, you're not taking people's teeth out with it, but
Yeah.
yeah, I've lost fillings
Yeah,
before.
yeah.
And you know, it takes a couple days to get in the dentist, and
Right.
you've got that hole where your filling used to be.
Yeah.
That stuff is super easy to
Right,
use.
yeah, the
Because
aerosol gel.
it fills in.
Yeah,
And you can, and it dries, and you can still eat with it.
right, right.
And then I went to the dentist, and they had no problem pulling it out.
Yeah.
You know, they actually said it was a great idea that I used that.
Yeah.
Because then you're not jamming food down into where you lost your filling.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So a dental emergency first aid kit. I mean, this one's got little tools in it, and we got a couple different ones out there, and it's just useful. So if it's not something you thought about, they're worth getting.
No, but it's got like little individual pouches of anesthetic, so
Right.
like if you do lose like a filling or
Yeah,
something
you can
happens,
try to
it's got the
sterilize
stuff
it
you
and
can
clean
rub on
it,
your gums to
deal
make
with
it
some
feel
of the pain.
better.
Yeah, some of
Yes.
the pain. So emergency dental kit. Now we got two more items here. Stick with us. Pepto-Bismol. So we've got OTC meds, of course, in the first aid kits. I want to call this one out specifically. If SHTF, if the S hits the fan, you're gonna probably end up with a lot of stuff like diarrhea, right? Because
Yeah.
if when you're dealing with water sources that may not be clean, things like dysentery.
Dysentery.
Right, this is an organ trail. You don't want to die of dysentery.
Don't know.
Pepto's a good thing to have, right? You might be dealing with situations that aren't at the level of sanitation your body's used to.
Right.
Whether you're just not able to wash your hands as much as you did, you're in a grid down, you're in a power out, your water's out, something like that. Your tummy is not going to be dealing with what it's used to dealing with. Pepto-Bismol or the generic. We got some of the generic ones too.
Right.
Liquid
It's
or
all
pill
Bismol.
form.
Yeah.
Is probably something you're going to want to think about. Even as part of your water preps, right? You might find yourself drinking dirty water, all sorts of situations. Pepto-Bismol in and of itself is an important part of healthcare. And then this will be the last item we're showing with this video for emergency supplies. Jace Medical.
That is the ultimate.
This is it, yeah, this is the ultimate in-home first aid. You actually have antibiotics, so we have Z-Packs in here. It's a kit you can get, we'll put a link in there. They have legit antibiotics to treat legit issues. All prescribed, so it's got my name on the prescription, so they're prescribed medications for emergency uses.
Yes, and we're both allergic to penicillin.
We're both allergic to penicillin.
And they were great. They just,
Yeah.
they swapped it out.
Right.
For
Yeah.
you.
So not cheap, right? I'm not going to pretend it is. The Jace Medical's not cheap, but in terms of real home medical options, those antibiotics can make a difference.
Right. And to know that there is a very extensive booklet in here.
Yes, yeah.
That lists what are your symptoms.
Right.
And then what medication to take for those symptoms and how many days of that medication to take.
To take, right.
So they don't just
There's
prescribe
information
it
in there.
and leave you.
Right, yep.
You have everything that you have in there, that this little booklet that you could say, these are my symptoms. Okay, the doctor said if I have these symptoms, I can take the zithromycin pack
Right,
or
yep.
whatnot.
And where we've used it in a regular situation is a lot of the times the healthcare, you might have, we have 24/7 call-in visits, e-visits.
Yeah.
So you can do an
Yes.
e-visit in the middle of the night if you want.
Yeah, I was sick. I
Right.
was terribly sick
Yeah.
with strep throat, and that
Yeah.
was painful. But I got a weekend doctor's appointment.
Right.
And they sent the antibiotic over after the pharmacy was already closed.
Yeah, and it's in the middle of the weekend.
Middle of the weekend, but it was a Z-Pack they
Right.
sent, and there was a Z-Pack in
Z-Pack in here.
I didn't have to wait
Right.
until
Until we
the
could pick
pharmacy
up the
opened
script.
again.
Right.
I just took the Z-Pack, because you look on your app, you could see what they prescribed
Yeah,
you.
right.
I started it right away.
Right.
And then the next day, you went and picked
And
up my
picked it up and we
Z-Pack and put
back
it in here.
Right, so
And it rotated the stock.
it just it rotated the stock on it. It keeps it fresh.
Yes.
And once again, the doctor already prescribed the Z-Pack. It's just we couldn't get it to her the moment she hung up. They can't pass it through the phone.
Right.
But if you have this and you get prescribed, you can start taking it immediately because you've already been prescribed.
Right.
And then when you pick up the script, you just rotate your
Yeah,
stock.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
All right, I think that's everything we had for this is just emergency supplies for the Prepper Pantry. I mean, we're gonna jump back into more on food. We just did a video on water,
Yeah.
which I think is very important, but we wanted to kind of sidestep just from food and water and rice and beans and all that and show some other supplies I think you should think about.
Yeah, because these are important. This is stuff that people might overlook.
Right, you might overlook, absolutely. So we appreciate you. Thank you for watching.